Hi guys, welcome back to Today in DeFi. So today in this video, with me, Steven, the analyst for Today in DeFi, we're going to talk about a really interesting and actionable, usable protocol in DeFi, which has been in space quite a while, which is called Yearn Finance. I believe most DeFi farmers or traders have already heard of Yearn. They have a great team, great developers. And by the way, this video is not paid or we don't have any affiliations with Yearn. We're just posting this video as a shape of our analysis of our review. And this is like 100% honest review, objective analysis. And whatever we're saying here is not financial advice. So yeah, we're only helping you to analyze these protocols so you don't have to do all the work by yourself. All right. So yeah, let's get into the video. So for Yearn Finance, your product they're actually raising, their main product is actually called yVaults. So what are yVaults here? So yVaults actually let you deposit your funds into a vault, and they will actually met by using smart contract. And unlike banks, they're using like decentralized finance, they're using DeFi strategies, and they will be routing our funds into different protocols like Morpho, Aave, or even Curve, all those blue chip protocols, and yeah, earn yield from them. Yearn has been in the space for quite a while, and right now they have their version 3 now live here, V3 Vaults. V2 Vaults here, if you might have used it in the past, you might know what V2 Vault is doing. The primary product is actually making vaults for Curve LP's position. So you can see here, most of vault products are actually from Curve USDE, USDAF's SCRV Factory Vault, and yeah, DOLA SUSD vaults here. So we're gonna take one vault and make an example for this. So I'm gonna pick this vault here. It's the resupply RUSD to Curve SC RVUSD factory, and what it basically do here is simply said it's boosting your Curve LP positions on so you can earn more yield. So for example here, if you don't know anything about LPing or AMMs or whatever, if you're very new to DeFi, do check out our videos. We talk about LPing like on Uniswap, the basic technologies of LPings, DEXs, AMMs, how it works. It's a clear example and a thorough walkthrough on what you need to know in DeFi. So I urge you and I recommend you to actually watch our videos if you are very new to DeFi. And it's completely free. It's on our YouTube. You can search on the videos and enjoy the free guides and free tutorials on LPing and what you need to know on DeFi. So if you're LPing here, you can provide liquidity here on Curve for REUSD and SCRVUSD. And after LPing here, you'll see a reward CAPR here. It's 4% to 11%. And in order to actually get 11% on Curve itself, you actually need the Curve tokens, the CRV tokens, which actually quite fluctuated. And if you're a more risk averse and a more stable farmer, you can actually use to actually boost the yields for you. So how does it work? So on Curve, you need the Curve token and lock it in on their protocol. After locking it, you'll get the boosted APR, but it doesn't really guarantee you to get 11%. It depends on the Curve's calculation on the gush liquidity, the amount you actually locked, the duration of the lock, and how much is your shares on this LP. So it all will be calculated by Curve, and that's the amount that you will get. And if you don't want to actually lock your CRV tokens, because it's quite fluctuated, and it's, as you may know, alts may fluctuate 30-40% in value in days or even hours sometimes if there's extreme market conditions. But you can actually use Curve. You can actually use Yearn to actually deposit your LP tokens here. So after you deposit into Curve, you'll get LP tokens. You can deposit your LP tokens here, and it would be this YV Curve REUSD SCRVF token. And yeah, this is, I think, for V2 vaults, it's not composable in other DeFi protocols, and it's different for V3 vaults. That's why V3 vaults is quite interesting. You can actually boost your yields in other protocols. But yeah, this is the main idea of V2 vaults here. You can boost your LP positions without having exposure to alts like locking volatile like CRV. So for V3 vaults here, it's really straightforward and it's a really simple product than the V2 vault here, and that's their main idea here. So on this interface, it's very smooth to use. For example, you can actually filter through the estimated APYs for each of the farms here and each of the vaults here. You can see there's a really high APY in Silo Lender, ARP, USD, USDCE. So what does this mean? So this means that you're actually lending liquidity, you're lending USDC liquidity on Arbitrum, on Silo, that for people that is actually borrowing USDCE by providing ARP collaterals. Yeah, this is a more, if you can see here, the risk level here is a little bit high. So it is a higher risk, high return, just like what we're saying here. Why? Because ARP is ARB, this ARB token, this Arbitrum token is actually quite volatile. So this might actually trigger more liquidations. And if the liquidity is not deep enough, it will actually become a problem later on. Same here for Morpho, usual boosted USDC here. I think USDC compounder here, I think they're routing our funds into more volatile markets using usual tokens as a collateral. So yeah, you need to check the risk level because this risk level is really, really important. And so this week, we're actually reminded a lot of times on how risky and sometimes scammy on certain projects here. For example, DEUSD here, the PEX around 97%. It's a ripple domino effect from stream finance. So yeah, you need to check out. You don't want to actually trust any DeFi protocols claiming everything. You need to verify. So what we're doing here is to actually verify whether our funds are really being, or actually where our funds are actually being routed into. So the denial with Stream that time was the founder actually being quite responsible at that moment. Another person has been showing bad things about Stream, but yeah, sometimes some people are actually too blind to actually check on-chain, and yeah, that's what made people actually lose money on Stream this week. It's a very tough week for DeFi, and do not put more than 10%, 20% of your entire capital into a single farm. That will actually cost you a lot of risk in your portfolio. What we're doing here, for example, we're trying to deposit into this USDT yVault here. That is giving you like 45%. This may be really high, but if you see here for the APR breakdowns for Yearn as well, because they're actually being transparent APR source of the asset and of the vault here. So for example here, 1.7% is from extrinsic yield, the yield earned from the underlying bridge assets. This farm is a little bit complicated. It's on Katana. It's a newer chain just launched this year, I believe. What you need to do on this vault farm here is you actually want to bridge USDT from Ethereum to Katana first, and when you bridge USDT to Katana, that bridge USDT is actually accruing yield and it's actually showing up here. It's 1.7%. And there's a Katana APY, there's also yield earned on the Katana chain. They're incentivizing a lot of activity lately because they're a newer chain. So yeah, you can actually farm on newer chains because they're giving incentive for early users. That's a great thing to do, but please verify the risk like we're doing right here. As you can see here, 45%, but 35% and 5% here is actually from the APR. So this might fluctuate because it's on cut rewards. This cut can actually fluctuate in price here. So you can search for cut tokens here, I believe. Yeah, this cut token will actually fluctuate in price after its TGE. So you need to be aware that this APR after the TGE can actually fluctuate. So it's not definitely gonna be 35%. For you guys who are quite confused, what is VBUSDT? Like I said, the bridge version of USDT on Katana. So this VBUSDT is actually earning like 1.7% bridge from Katana, 59% on Katana. So yeah, you can actually also get more yield on Spectra. If you click on this Spectra liquidity pools here, you can see these Y tokens, these Y vaults from Yearn is actually composable on Spectra. So you can liquidity provide these vault tokens and actually earn more elevated yields. And that's what makes V3 more interesting than V2, according to their team. It's because these are tokenized strategies, so you can actually use these after depositing into their vaults. You can actually use these vault tokens and actually elevate those yields by, for example, providing liquidity on Spectra. And yeah, it's not only USDT, you can also USDC with ETH. And yeah, it's a pretty cool feature to have on DeFi. And for due diligence and what I think is very important to actually check is the strategies that we are routing our funds into. So for example, actually Yearn did the risk analysis here for us and saying the risk level here is quite low, but traders or DeFi farmers who are actually putting our money into these, we need to verify ourselves, and you don't want to trust anything or anyone DeFi farmers like this, because it's a painful lesson to learn. But I'm not saying like they're fraud, but you need to verify the vaults ourselves. So for example, these USDT that we deposited, the VB USDT, the bridge USDT. So the strategies that they are depositing on this vault is very transparent here. So you can see here, first one, the biggest allocation they have is the Morpho Yearn OG USDT compounder. Then right here you have the also Morpho Gauntlet USDT vault compounder. So basically it's vaults against vaults here. So they're putting vaults on vaults. And yeah, you can check on Morpho themselves here. So if we visit Morpho's page and we pick Katana as the chain, yeah, on their Yearn here, they also have their own Yearn section here. You can cross-check the vaults that they are actually depositing into. For example here, yeah, this is one of it. Yearn, this Yearn OG USDT, the Gauntlet USDT. And I think they also have one more here. Let me check. And yeah, this is a more lower strategy here, a single-sided LPVB USDC here. I think they're doing it on, you can check this on their smart contract to verify the farm. Yeah, it's not, yeah, they're putting it on here on Steer, and this is like one of the recurring things that they are depositing are, so these are actually like rewards farming on Steer here. And so you can actually check on the risk for the vaults that they're depositing into. Like for the first one here is the Yearn OG USDT. As you can see here on the market exposure, for what this vault is doing here is actually they're lending VB USDT for people who is borrowing VB USDT by providing VB wrapped BTC collaterals or even USDC collaterals here. So the risks are indeed low. Why? Because they're actually lending it for, in wrapped BTC's case, it's quite liquid. It's a blue chip asset. It's a big asset like wrapped BTC, right? So yeah, they are actually putting it into quite huge markets here. The total market size is quite huge, and the utilization rate is still manageable. If there are liquidations to be held, I think this amount of liquidity can hold up. So that's how we checked on how the market is actually risky or not. Yeah, so that's wrapped BTC. And for these vaults, and for ETH, this ETH is only have 5% allocation here. So ETH is more volatile asset than BTC, but yeah, it's also a bigger market than other altcoins. And a good thing here is they actually lend USDT for their own composable yield token here, VBUSDC here. So the utilization rate is less than 90%, so it's still healthy. The total borrows are still okay. The more the borrows, the more like the lending APYs. And yeah, that's how we check. And another one here is USDT. So this is the USDT vault managed by Gauntlet, and we can check which market exposure that we're actually being exposed into. First is only idle liquidity here for VBUSDT. That explains the low APY, actually only 1.49%. But just what your OG vault is doing here, they actually provide liquidity for people, their own yield token, and also bigger markets like BTC and ETH tokens here. They have a more volatile market here for Polygon, but it's a very minor allocation, so we don't need to worry about it. What we need to worry is the huge allocations here. So in this case, the allocation is mostly into more stable pools here. Sorry, it's more stable markets here. Like this one is idle liquidity, this one doesn't count. 57% is still idle, not earning any yield, only accruing Katana points and APR. And also for these markets, it's actually more safer and bigger market here. You can check if you want to confirm here on the market here. Oh, you can actually borrow, because of the incentivized rewards, you can actually be paid to borrow USDT here on this by providing collaterals. This might be an interesting opportunity here, but either way, what we're trying to do here is to actually earn this 45% APR on USDT. And after we check, it is not that high of a risk because most of the markets allocated into are not as volatile, and it's a bigger, more liquid market than what we're seeing on other platforms. And it's not like being market neutral, you're lending into a bigger and more liquid market. So that's what we're searching for. So yeah, that's how you do due diligence on depositing into strategies or into vaults. If you are very interested learning DeFi deeper, you can actually subscribe to our premiums because we provide this kind of deep analysis daily in a written form for only $1.3 a day. Yeah, I think that's it. I hope you learned something new and make money out of it. Thank you.